see y'all out there. Hope you're doing well this Saturday. Welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. All right, so we are going to dive into a near-death experience commentary. I was planning to do a double header of NDEs, but I don't know if I'm going to make it through it. So we'll try. We'll see what happens. We'll definitely get through one, and I might end up having to make this a two-parter. We'll see. See how long I can go for tonight. Hey, C4. Hey, Mike Alien. Sugar Seas. Enemy. And every drones. Nickel, everyone else out there. Good to see you. Okay, so let's jump right into this. No delay. All right. Where the hell did I put it? 1 minute, guys. All right, I think we're good. Okay. Okay, here we go. Good. Sorry about that.
I was always terrified of death from as young as probably 8, maybe even younger than that. And I used to have really, really severe panic attacks about it. I would hyperventilate and start crying and just be, it was like impending doom. You know what I mean? It was that kind of feeling. My mom, she always tried to, console me, but she really didn't know exactly how or what to say to me. Like, she believed, we die and we go live eternally with Jesus, and but that wasn't enough for me. It's like, well, when you're dead, you're not breathing, you're not thinking, you're not speaking, you're not seeing or hearing, you're just 6 feet under and you're dead, and that's it. And that's what terrified me, because I was like, I'm no longer gonna be me. I'm no longer gonna be here. It's just, there's nothingness. I lived a long time with that fear, a very long time, up until 27, when I had my NDE, 37 weeks pregnant with my youngest son, the ultrasound tech. She said, you do know that your baby is breech? And I was like, no, the doctor never said anything about that, and you think he would. But later that day.
Hello, everybody. Just saying hi for copyright reasons. Here we go.
When I saw the doctor, he said, well, you still have 3 weeks, and, he has time to turn. He probably will. A couple of days later, I ended up going into labor, and I barely made it to the hospital. He's breech, his feet are right there. He's coming out. We need to do an emergency C-section. So I was obviously scared. I remember being wheeled in. I remember them saying, count back from, whatever they do, 100 or whatever. And I remember hearing the sound of the heart monitor, beeping. And then I remember it going flat. And at the very same moment that I heard it go beep, I rose out of my body. And I was like just hovering there above. I remember seeing a body. I remember seeing the doctors. I remember seeing, everything that was going on. But I didn't at first realize that it was me that I was looking at. I just saw this body and I was like, wow, look at that, pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, I don't remember exactly when I realized that it was me, but I realized that it was me. And I don't know if, I'm guessing that I just remembered that I was having a baby.
Now that's wild, huh? So you're going to labor, having a baby, leave your body, and you have an NDE as a result of it. And that's got to be a rough one. I've actually spoke with a number of mothers who, during birth had like out-of-body experiences. But the near-death experiences ones are interesting too. Obviously, way more interesting. But seems maybe more common than we think. Any mothers in the chat have a OBE while giving birth? Not an NDE, but an OBE.
because I saw that it was me, and then I kind of remembered, oh yeah, I'm, having this baby. And so, and like I said, when I try to explain or talk about like the timeline, it might not be exact. I remember the things that happened, but I don't remember exactly how, like, I guess exactly when. I remember someone suddenly came and was at my side, my right side, and
right away
just took me somewhere else. There was no tunnel.
Someone took her and just appeared. I mean, again, this is like default programming that we see. If you look at deathbed visions and visitations, we see it all the time. The person on their deathbed is talking to a deceased loved one, a pet, could be even something like a Jesus figure. It ranges on what it could be, but most of the time it's deceased family members. And same thing with NDEs. It's like it's an automatic default within the Matrix for, oh, she's going out of her body. Get someone down there right now. That's how I envision it. It's just like automatic within the algorithm of the Matrix, I guess, or the program, or whatever programming.
There's no light. There was none of those other things that a lot of people talk about in their NDEs. Mm-hmm. It was more like we are in the operating room, and the next minute, like literally within seconds, we're somewhere else. The only way that I can describe this place is that it was like 360 degrees. I could see all around. It was like I kind of describe it as like a movie screen. I could just see all around. It was like, how you have peripheral vision. This was like just even in back of me, even though I was looking forward. And I remember the screen, as I call it, it was spinning, going by very fast. And it was showing me clips of my life. It was stopping at certain...
Sorry about that. I mean, that's very common, right? We see this all the time where people will have an NDE and their life is flashing before them like a movie.
Clips of my life. It was stopping at certain points in my life. Some were good, some were not so good. Like, the way I treated people, some of those were, I don't want to get into total specifics, but just, the way I treated some people. I remember seeing my childhood dog. I saw our house that I grew up in, and my mom used to have these tulips. She loved tulips, so she always had tulips planted in the front yard. But it was different seeing them during my life review, because it was real, but it was as far as the tulips and everything, they were so much. It was just like my mom's garden, but they were just so much more vibrant, and they were.
And again, very common. We see. I mean, this is just an example that kind of tails into her specific NDE, but we see a lot of other NDEs where they claim that, they're in a meadow, by some water, beautiful, like rolling hills, very vibrant colors, sometimes colors that they can't even describe because they don't exist on our color spectrum as human beings. So again, very common data point right here.
They were, I know plants are alive, but they were like more alive, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. We stayed in that place, but I remember thinking to myself when it was stopping, especially when it stopped at the parts I was not very proud of, the way I treated people. I think we all have, done some things that we were not proud of, or treated people badly, or, said an unkind word or something like that. And those are the things that I'm talking about that it was stopping at. For a split second, I thought to myself, I'm going to hell. Like I really, as this was going on and they were showing me this, I thought to myself, they're showing me this because they're going to say to me, you're going to hell, And then the person that was with me, I felt them put a hand on my shoulder and tell me that I was doing okay and not to worry, that everything was going to be okay. But we don't speak like you and I are speaking. It's like the information is kind of just, it's like immediate. You know, all you have to do is think something and the other person knows it. It's actually pretty cool. And I wish that we could communicate like that now. And forgiveness, oh my gosh, forgiveness is so important. I believe it's so important for our soul, for our spirit, and not only to forgive other people, but to forgive ourselves. I had a really, really hard time forgiving myself. So I've worked on that a lot. It's definitely a learning thing where we're meant to, you know, I believe that's why we're shown those things. It's, you know, it's not for nothing. It's not like here, you know, here's your life, just look at it and that's it. I mean, it's definitely to teach us where we can do better, you know, where we've done good and where we need to improve. After my life.
Okay, so again, you know, where we've done good, where we got to improve. You know, but again, you come here under the veil of forgetfulness, lifetime after lifetime. We're told this place is some sort of school, some sort of learning experience. But how do you learn? How do you grow? How do you, you know, fix mistakes, learn from mistakes, following lifetimes, unless you can remember what you did and work on those? Kind of a problem, right? And that's and we're just supposed to buy everything hook, line, and sinker. That it's all on the up and up. And again, like what is represented in the astral does not coincide with what happens here, at least in terms of what entities are telling most near-death experiencers and what near-death experiencers come back to tell us about those experiences, about what those entities are saying about their experience with this love and everything's school, it's growing, blah, 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 blah. You know, the same old spiel.
Review was over. I remember hearing my baby crying. The very same moment that he was crying, the person that was with me, who I didn't recognize, by the way, but I felt like it was a male, and I felt like he loved me forever and ever and ever. It was almost like he just loved me for eternity.
Infinite.
He's going to love you as long as you keep on incarnating. Or, you know, he's the other thing is some of these entities could be part of your soul group where they're like a teacher, a master. I mean, she's, you know, our angel, however you want to classify them. And yeah, they're going to love you. But, you know, once you leave this system and leave them in the dust and take your own sovereign direction in your existence, I don't think they're going to really matter anymore. And, you know, I put forth that, you know, this is just my opinion, that I think the love frequency, it pertains to this experience and portions in the astral that are linked to this matrix, the whole system. Or parts of the system. Because, you know, you have the hell-like experiences, too. You have realms where this love frequency, overpowering love frequency, doesn't exist. We see it in some DMT and ayahuasca breakthrough trip reports. We see it in astral projection, OBEs. You know, it's not always this love frequency. So there are realms that are still linked to here that don't have that component. But, you know, I put forth that the reason this is used is to keep us coming back, to keep us, you know, basically trying to find that high. This experience is like an addiction. It seems like that, right? It seems like we're addicted to this sensory experience. And in the astral, but with many more powers in the astral, like we're much more powerful. But if they can put that veil over us, not just here, but in the astral, because they can do it in the astral, they do it in the astral, then that is a major, major concern that we all need to be thinking about.
from back from before I was born until my future. I just felt like he loved me forever and is going to love me forever. And that was very comforting. I only wish that I knew who it was. I have no clue. But anyway, they said to me, "What do you want to do?" And I knew what that meant. They were saying, "Do you want to stay or go back?" I immediately said, "I need to go back." I was very happy and I was very calm and very, relaxed in that, love. But,
Okay, let me just put this on the table. You know how a lot of times we see how, these entities will pretend to give this choice, okay? The problem is the choice involves a memory wipe too. So I think there is a choice. The choice doesn't be made, but it's made under, we can call it duress, or deception or manipulation. Okay. At the very beginning of her NDE, she says that she remembered she was in the middle of giving birth. She has that memory. And then what happens right after that? Boom, the entity sweeps her up, brings her with that. And then she's saying, oh, the entity's like, oh, well, you're going to go back to Earth, or you're going to stay here with us. Perceived choice, see? Perceived choice. But she's just had a baby. She's been in the middle of giving birth. See that chain of events? That's an important one to keep an eye on. There are little subtle things once in a while that pop up that make it really easy to see how these entities in the system is using it. I mean, I don't think it's going to be very difficult to convince someone, even though, I would say high 90 percentile of people say that they did not want to come back. Even mothers who just had children not that long ago, or have young children, or a sick parent, or something like that. But they kind of go through the Rolodex. Let me see here. Okay. Oh, let's see. Oh, I bet she's going to fall for this one. Let's, make up something about that person back down on Earth and how they need you, or that you have a mission to complete, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Same old stuff.
Very calm and very, relaxed in that, love. But, my babies are my world. And I was like, my babies need me. I need to go back. So I was brought back to the hospital room where I saw doctors and nurses. There was probably, I would say like 6 or 7. There was a bunch of them. They were doing something. I believe that they were giving me CPR, because I remember them hearing, she's not breathing, she's not breathing. At that moment, when the person asked me, what do you want to do? I was immediately shot back into my body when I said, I want to be with my babies. The next day, I was in so much pain. My chest was hurting so badly. Mm-hmm. And I remember my ex-husband, he said that he asked the doctors about if everything went well or whatever, because he wasn't allowed to be in the room because I was, it was an emergency. Mm-hmm. So, and they told him that everything was fine. But I know actually that they lied to him, because if I did not die, I don't believe I would have had that experience. Mm-hmm. So.
Did you confront them about the death thing?
I did not. I never did. And I was afraid to. I was afraid.
Just kind of listening to this, you wonder if there's some malpractice going on that they're hiding. I know someone, well, I don't know her, but I heard the story. I know of someone recently who went to a hospital and had surgery scheduled. And not only did they screw up the surgery the first time, but then they came in to fix the surgery later, and then they left like a tool, like some sort of part, tube, I don't know what the heck it was, in them. And, they deny. I mean, if the person's asleep or out of it, they're not necessarily going to know exactly what happened, even though she knows that she, quote unquote, died. The husband isn't made aware of, the big issue going on. And then someone in my family recently had injections on her back. And she basically woke up from out of the procedure. They gave her like something to knock her out with. And when she came out of the procedure, she felt pain on her ass. Like, and she's like, oh, why do I got that pain? And then I think she told the doctor that day or like the next visit. And the doctor was like racing to get her a shot to help her to feel better and bend over backwards. And then he goes, oh, well, you may have fallen, during your procedure or something along those lines. So like they'll hide things. Kid you not, they're not going to put themselves at risk. If they know you're asleep, they'll hide it. All right, sorry for that ramble.
I was afraid because I didn't, at that time, I had heard of NDEs, but I didn't know exactly what it was. I was kind of scared to ask, but I also didn't know, like, I didn't know what happened to me at the time. I was like, what exactly happened to me? I did tell one other person, and besides my ex, and that person knew a little bit more about NDEs and said to me, it sounds like you died. Mm-hmm. And so I started looking up and researching more about what NDEs were. And I found out what I experienced was very, very, very similar to what other people experienced. Mm-hmm. And so that, through that is how I realized what happened to me.
I love how you were describing the tulips.
They were gorgeous. I always loved those flowers. They're more alive. It's just hard to explain. Some things are just so hard to explain because we just I don't believe we have the language to do that. It's just different than here. It's very different. I get these visions, or like I said, I really don't know what to call them. I guess visions.
Premonitions,
stuff like that happens to me all the time. When my aunt died, she didn't come to me, but an angel came to me, and I knew I had been asleep, but I woke up and I knew for a fact that I was awake. But this angel came to me and said, don't worry about your aunt. She's with me. The next day I woke up and my other aunt who I was staying with or living with at the time, she said, oh, Aunt Jerry died. And I was like, I know. And she was like, how do you know? She just like, we just found out. There's no way that you could have known. I was like, I knew. And when I explained to her what happened, I think she like only half believed me, which I don't know how someone can not believe that. I mean, if I'm telling you, how else would I know that information? It's not like someone called me in the middle of the night, but stuff like that happens all the time.
And this kind of stuff was happening even prior to your NDE.
It was, but not quite as strong and not quite as much. I was in a club with my sister. We were dancing and all this, and somebody rubbed up against me, and I immediately felt a car accident and a fire. The next day on the news, we found out that someone did indeed have an accident and the car caught on fire. It could have.
Okay, so premonitions are really something important for us to be looking out for, especially for our own needs, right? If you have a premonition about a family member or something, it's likely going to come true. It's likely going to, play itself out. Now, it could be delayed. I've spoken with people where it's been delayed almost a couple years. Spoke with people where it's like, 6 months, 3 months, the next day, and it can be something like what she experienced. Or it could be something within their own family, like that's catastrophic. But then there's also premonitions about yourself. And those usually come initially. Now, it's not always going to be work this way, but you could get one during, while you're lucid during the day. But most people get them in dreams initially. And there's it's almost like an early warning system. When it is more geared towards you, and I'm not going to say this is all the time, but it's more often than not, it seems to be that, when you get a premonition of your own demise, then you're going to have some time. Maybe not a lot of time, maybe a few weeks, few months, 6 months, maybe, but, so if that happens, that's when I think, you really got to kick it into high gear and, obviously get your affairs in order and, work on, detaching and however you want to situate yourself at the time of natural death and all of that, so that you have the maximum intention set forth for sovereignty and liberation. So, yeah, pay attention to those premonitions, my friends.
Been a coincidence?
Probably not.
I think it's kind of I felt this, and then the next day there's a car accident where the car caught on fire. I don't know.
I don't believe in coincidences at all.
No, I don't either now.
Yeah.
Back then, this was before my NDE that happened. Maybe I could have stopped them from driving. I don't know. They probably would have thought I was just a drunk loony. I don't know. The love was like the biggest thing. And the biggest thing that I took back from this is that what I was told is that we're here to learn unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, kindness, acceptance, all these things is what I was told. This is what we are here to do. The way that we get to that bottom line of love and compassion and all that may be different. Our journey to that bottom line is going to be different. We are here to learn those things and to practice those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely practice those things much more than I ever did. It's much more important to me now. And then I try to tell people, I try to stress the importance of doing those things, because going back to the life review, when you're in that life review, it's like you are put in every person's shoes. It's almost like I say a movie, but it's not even like a movie. It's more like a play. You're literally
kind of like life. Life's a play. We're all just playing out roles. And then we have that piece of free will. And some people will fight, man, we don't have free will. No, you have free will. It's just limited, which is the most ridiculous thing to say, right? But it's limited within the confines of the body and the matrix above and around us. The whole system, okay? There are limitations that come with being here. So, yeah.
Say a movie, but it's not even like a movie. It's more like a play. You're literally put in each person's shoes that you ever encountered in this life. I mean, ever. Like, even if it was someone in line at the grocery store, as simple as that, every encounter, you're going to have to feel it. And you'll feel, what you felt, but you'll also feel what the other person felt. And it doesn't have to be all negative. It's going to be every experience, positive or negative. The better you treat people, the better your life review is going to be. I try to stress that to people. A lot of people might not believe it, and I guess that's their problem, but they're going to have a life review whether they believe it or not. So I think it's good to just be good to people.
Not me. Well, I think it's good to be good to people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the life review. I am not going through a life review because I'm not going to go down the tunnel and I'm not going to go to the light. None of it. It's over. Done with. Adios. Goodbye. Yeah, you gotta deny that stuff. You gotta stick up for yourself and say no. It would be kind of cool to experience it lucidly as long as you weren't going to have your freaking memories zapped and be under control of some group of parasites, and to even kind of stick around and explore a bit, but we can't, or I can't. I'm not going to do it. It's just too damn risky. I don't want to put words in people's mouth or tell people what to do either. That's really important to put out there, that, you know, everyone needs to make their own decision about what they're going to do at the time of natural death. I feel hanging around or interacting in any way, shape, or form is extremely dangerous because of how easy it is for them to manipulate our creator being abilities and intention, which in turn moves over to consent. Because, you know, she got picked up, you know, going really fast, and she didn't say no. She just went along for the show, and I'm not blaming her, but she was, you also giving birth. There's probably like a whole frequency brigade going on with that. I mean, you have, you know, maybe the drugs that they gave her to ease the pain. I mean, all sorts of different things could be going on where she's a little more susceptible. Yeah. So just stand your ground. You know, that's why I think the intention part is so important. Like, and learning that this whole thing, you know, about the soul trap is it's important to learn. It's important to dive into and research on your own, because then once you kind of reach like a pinnacle point where you say, okay, I've seen enough, now I know. And then what's like the logical next step? You have to think, okay, what's my plan at the time of natural death? Like for me, obviously I talked about it before, sovereignty, liberation, the whole deal with, you know, your own realm, you know, setting your intention, can't be messed with verbally, audibly, telepathically, can't, you know, putting up the shield so you're all right. And then setting your intention forth to your own realm. I suggest a void of your own creation that is impenetrable, incapable of being interfered with. And then go about your thing and, you know, allow those memories to come back. Allow, you know, the trial and error phases to begin. Like as creator beings, you know, we've been rusty. We're probably rusty, even though it'll probably a lot will just come back to us naturally. We still got to take into account how this all happened, right? Coming here. So I think just chilling for a little while in a safe space is our best option. Yes, I'm going to create my own safe space. All right, so yeah, you get the point. Everyone's got to make their plan on how they're going to approach things at the time of natural death. Remember, this channel does not in any way, neither does Dan, neither does Wayne Bush. All three of us are in complete agreement that suicide is not an option, not an answer, and having the most amount of time possible is what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Because then what are you doing? You're building on that intention, building and building and building and setting it forth. So, you know, people talk about, well, maybe I'll get Alzheimer's or dementia. Well, what are you doing? You know, meditate on it. Send it out. We don't just have this body. We don't. There's like a whole nother piece of us, our true spirit essence that exists. And that knows. And I'm convinced that also helped me. I connect with it. We all connect with it. But I convinced over time it helped me connect with this inner knowing about all of what's going on here. Okay? And so, remember, this is just the physical vessel. As soon as you leave the body, boom, it's all going to come back. You're going to know what's up. You're going to realize everything, and you'll be able to get the hell out of here and do your thing, or whatever you're going to do. Want to roll the dice afterwards? Feel free, but
Yeah.
It's important, not only because of the life review, but it's extremely important to our creator. I believe that 1,000,000%. I just know that it really made me want to be a better person, even though I didn't feel judged by anybody. And I don't know if, like, you know, Christians talk about the judgment and that kind of thing. And I don't know if, you know, if maybe I just didn't get far enough to have that judgment from our creator, but I honestly don't feel like we're judged. I feel like we judge ourselves. I wasn't told that. It's just something that I strongly, strongly feel. I really just think that we judge ourselves. I know during my life review, I was judging myself. Nobody else was. And like I said, the person that I was with just said to me, "You're doing good. You're doing fine. Don't worry about it." So I tried not to.
And what happens? Think about it this way. What happens if you go through the life review, you realize the good, you realize the bad, and then an entity pops up and says, "You didn't get it right." So the next step, just so you know, the next step is, you know, we're going to zap your memories, and we're going to send you through the reprocessing plant. You're going to pick out a new life. You're going to go to a little soul school before we send you back down. You know, maybe we'll zap your memories again just for fun. And then we'll send you back down there. And you can work on all those things that you need to work on. Remember the one case in the Michael Newton series? I don't remember which book it was. I think it was in, I want to say Journey of Souls. Don't quote me. I think it was like 5,000 years, but I think it was 5,000 lifetimes just to work on empathy. Just to work on empathy. And while I'm on the topic of this, I want to let you guys know tomorrow we're going to have a really awesome guest, or a couple guests. We're going to have quantum healing joining our channel, and it's going to be a really awesome show. And they have done some incredible work, and I really can't wait for them to join us, because we're going to dive through their regressions. They've taken I'm sorry, actually, did I not say? Okay, yeah, it's Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. I don't know if I said that. So Dan and I were discussing them in our stream last week, but they're coming on tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. The first hour will be dedicated to going over their work with regressions and spiritual release. And then the second hour will be dedicated to cases. And they're also individually going to come on at some point down the road as part of my journey to awakening. It is awesome to have some really good researchers out there who are in those fields, who see what's going on through experience. They've had over 500 cases together. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a great show. So I hope to see some of you tomorrow, or if you catch the replay down the road, that'll be April 10th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Worry about it. But, you know, when they were showing me some of that stuff, I felt really bad. I was always sensitive, but now it's like, it's super, super sensitive and more aware. Like much more aware of other people's feelings and how much they matter. They matter a whole lot. The biggest, most important thing is that I'm no longer afraid to die. And the weird thing is that I can't wait to go back.
It's not that you want to die. It's just that you know what's waiting for you. So like, you know, if it happens tomorrow, wonderful. If it happens in 50 years, either way, I'm super glad to go back. I totally get
Exactly. Exactly. There's just so much incredible love. It's like the love that we have here doesn't even begin to cover what it feels like over there. I mean, for a long time, I was very afraid to tell people. It took me years to finally share it with other than, I mean, I didn't even share it with my sisters for many, many years. The only person that knew was my ex and one other person, like I said, that I spoke to. But other than that, I was just really afraid to tell anyone.
Okay, so I want you to really just think about this, my friends. Again, we cannot underestimate the power in which is being conveyed about the love bomb. You can't. And if we continually keep coming back here, I think it's time to really seriously consider that we maybe at some point became addicted to this type of experience and have allowed certain things to take place because of that. And that addiction could be just family, friends, pets, deities, something perceived as God, the creator. But what if everything is just kind of under the same umbrella and claiming to be something that it's not? Like, you know, specifically like the God portion of things, right? Dealing with something like a false God or a false creator. And I think the creator, all it does is create. If the creator is something, if we're to interpret it in our very limited perception as a human, the way it is interpreted here on Earth. Who's to say that this creator, this God, has feelings, that it cares? See what I'm saying? It's pretty evident that it's not that concerned with anything going on here. It's just not. So why bow down to it? Why worship it? Why merge with it? Reconnect with it? You know, or all those different things that are said. You know, count on yourself, maybe. Isn't that more important? Just see. If God is all loving and all knowing and on your side, no matter what, he's not going to force you to make a decision right away. He's not going to force you to, come on, let's go. Let's go. Right after you die, let's go. You're coming with me. It's just common sense. If God cares, if the creator cares, in the sense that we have been told by all these near-death experiencers, all these religions, even though religions are a whole nother thing, but if it cared, then it's not going to force you to make a decision right away. It's just not. If you want to go on a sovereign path and just see where it takes you, what's wrong with that? Then if you want to go merge and do whatever, go for it, I guess.
I'm glad that I was given this experience. And, you know, when you asked me what I took back, the biggest thing for me, like I said, is that I no longer fear death. But ever since my NDE, when somebody passes, it's very, very hard for me to use the words death and dying and die, because we don't. And I never know what to tell people. I mean, most of the time I just say, I'm so sorry for your loss, but that doesn't even sound right, because I'm like, you didn't lose them. Like, you know what I'm saying? My son plays the piano, and, you know, I don't like anything brown. I don't like brown furniture. I paint everything because I don't like brown furniture. So I've always loved white and light and bright. I don't know why, it's just a thing for me. But so I said, you can get the piano as long as I can paint it. And he was fine with that. So we brought the piano home, and before I painted it, it played by itself.
What?
And it was, yeah, but it wasn't playing a song. It was like, you know what it sounds like when a kid kind of just, brum, 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 you know, like bangs on the keys?
Yeah,
That's what it sounded like. And it happened maybe 3 or 4 times. And I was told by a friend of mine who is also, I guess she considers herself a medium. I don't know if that's what she calls herself or what she calls herself. I've known her forever, but she told me that if you paint something or change it in some way, that it will go away. Now, I've heard people say other things, like when you change stuff, it makes it worse, but it worked. I mean, I painted it and it stopped.
Oh, that's
but
interesting.
that was pretty freaky. It's like that shell was just like weighing me down, and I'm like, oh, you know, I felt free. It was awesome. I definitely feel much more connected to that side than this side. You know, people will ask me if I have forgotten or if it's like fresh. It is so fresh, like it happened yesterday, even though it was 27 years ago. It's very clear. You know, the thing that's kind of frustrating, I really feel deep in my soul that I learned more, and that there was much more to the experience that I can't remember. And that is so frustrating. That feeling is so strong that there's more. Like, I honestly don't believe there was nothing. I believe they just didn't remember.
Were they just not ready to remember this experience? Maybe they're not the type of person that should remember that experience for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Maybe just at that time in their life. Maybe in 10 years, they'll remember everything.
I believe that things come to people over time. I mean, I pretty much remembered, you know, most of what I told you right away, but some things kind of, you know, came in the following days and even weeks after and I'm glad that I was able or allowed or whatever to remember, because if I didn't, I'd probably still be afraid of death. I didn't share for a very
allowed. We heard the word allowed.
You know, came in the following days and even weeks after and I'm glad that I was able or allowed or whatever.
Able or allowed.
You know, came in the following days and even weeks after and I'm glad that I was able or allowed or whatever to remember, because if I didn't, I'd probably still be afraid of death. I didn't share for a very, very long time. But if I can help just one person not to have the anxiety that I had, because it truly was debilitating. It was just awful.
Yeah.
I do have a very strong longing to go back. It's strange and it's hard to explain, but I have this longing. But at the same time, you know, I have grandchildren that I want to watch grow up. You know, I have my sons, and I, you know, love my husband so much, and I have my dogs, and I'm very blessed. I have this very strong connection and just a strong longing to go back. But when I say, hey, I want to go back, I want to take everybody with me. You know, I do. It's like, I want everyone to go.
I just want to take everyone with me. Let's go. Come on, guys. All right, everybody, all aboard the Archon train. Let's go. Come on, guys. Let's pack up this this stream and let's get out of here and head on down Archon Highway.
Because it's wonderful.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could just take a trip over there with our families.
I know. I've thought that's so funny. I've thought about that so many times. I'm like, yeah, let's all go on a family vacation to the other side. It'll be wonderful.
We'll visit heaven.
Let's not.
Been for a while, and then, you know, we'll be back. It's all good.
I read recently on that page as well about shared NDEs, and I don't know what that is. I didn't have a chance to look it up.
Well, it's exactly that. You're sharing the NDE. So usually the person accompanies the dying person to the light, let's say, for example.
So they both?
Yeah. Pretty much. That's usually what it consists of. There's some sort of assistance or help that is maybe the Matrix is worried about, and it needs like a someone close to the person who's dying to kind of aid in that crossing over. So they use us in the flesh as tools to help submit our loved ones to the light and back through the whole system. And a lot of times, again, this can start with deathbed visions and visitations. And if, maybe the visitors, like the deceased loved ones, can't pull it off properly, and maybe the system's a little concerned about the person who's about to die going rogue and maybe standing up for itself, then they provide maybe an experience to someone who's in the flesh, who's right next to them at their deathbed. It's my son, it's my daughter, it's whoever. They're helping me. It's just saying, could be the reason why. I can't say for certain. There's a lot of cases out there with this, so and there's no definitive proof, but that could be what's going on. That could be the justification for why it's going on. Early on when I started looking into shared death experiences, I was thinking it's got to have something to do with the proximity, but then you realize that's not the case. A person could have a shared death experience and their loved one could be dying in a hospital or a hospice, a couple thousand miles away, and they're still going to share that experience in the moment when they're dying, when they're actually crossing over. Sometimes they go to the light, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just in the tunnel or kind of helping play referee between deceased loved ones that may show up. Yeah, just some food for thought on that one. Not saying anything definitively, but with what we know about what goes on here, this a natural suspicion, right?
They both have an NDE at the same time?
Yeah, it's like what I do almost every night. They have an OBE, an out-of-body experience, but they're connected energy-wise to the dying person, and they basically follow them up to a certain extent, certain point, and then they come back and the other one doesn't.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I hear about it a lot because I've worked as a doula and a funeral director, and so I hear about all these things. And it happens a lot, like deathbed visions, very common. People will almost always see somebody coming for them.
My mom, I think my mom did. She couldn't speak at the end of her life. She, I have 4 sisters. There's 5 girls, and we were all in the hospital. She actually died twice. My oldest sister and I were in the room with her. My older sister woke me up and said, "Mommy's gone." She checked and she was gone. So we went to get my other sisters who were in the waiting room. And by the time they came back, she was breathing again. And the nurse came in. We got the nurse. She came in and she was like, "She's breathing. She's back." It was funny because I really think she was waiting for everyone to get there, because there were a couple nephews, nieces that were on the way to the hospital to see her. And I really think she came back just to wait for them. But my point is that we saw her like reaching up. She was looking up and she was reaching for something. It looked like she was reaching for someone's hand. She couldn't tell us, she couldn't talk, but that's exactly what it looked like. And she was like going like this, like reaching for something.
Yeah.
All very common. All very common. These are things, again, deathbed visions and visitations. They are purposely put there to help the person who's dying cross over to the light. This is what's going on. There's a lot of moving parts and components and topics and subtopics that all link together. to show the same freaking thing, to show the deception up front and center as to what is going on in this place and how it functions and how it takes advantage of us, lures us in with our heart, with our empathy, with our compassion, with our desire to be with our deceased loved ones and cross over in a certain way. That's what it is. It is so fucked up. And I'm sorry for swearing, but it irks me. Sometimes I get upset, flips me out. To think that we could be taken advantage on such a grand scale is beyond me. It's not beyond me, but it's amazing to me how intricate this system is. And all it works with is freaking illusion and deception and manipulation and tugging at the heartstrings. That's all it's got. That's it. And we're just supposed to bow down to it after going through this fucking mess? We're just supposed to submit blindly after having our memories wiped who knows how many times? We know what's happened this lifetime. Yeah, you may get a few pieces here and there if you go for regression and this and that, but it's all meaningless. It just confirms you've been here before. That's all it does. That's all it does. And you might realize, oh, I suffered that lifetime too. I suffered that lifetime. Yeah, you realize that. Yay. Yeah, I learned so much.
She saw something, the veil thinned, right? And she saw something, or someone. She could have seen just the beauty. I mean, who knows what she saw? She could have saw a version of heaven that was so spectacular, and it was just like right there. And she's like,
yeah,
kind of reaching for it. Could have been like those tulips that you explained. Like maybe she was reaching for one of them that was presented to her in this kind of scenario. Her mother, her father.
I can't wait to ask her.
Yeah,
I want to ask her. I want to ask her, what were you reaching for?
You don't have to wait. You can do this in meditation. You can do this.
You believe in signs, I'm sure.
Yeah.
From loved ones.
Definitely.
Well, my dad, for some reason, said that he told my sister, I'm going to come back as a dragonfly.
Dragonfly, yeah.
And I'm going to land on your pocket. And one day she's working in her garden. She had a pocket on her shirt. Dragonfly came and landed on her shirt pocket. And she said it stayed there for literally hours while she worked in the garden.
Really?
And she just looked down and she said, hey, Daddy, my sister was having surgery. Another sister was having surgery. And the one who had the pocket thing was driving her to the hospital. The one that was having surgery said, I wish Daddy was here. Mm-hmm. And as soon as she said that, a song, my dad used to play the guitar, but a song that he loved that I used to play on the guitar came on the radio. And then a car passed with the license plate that said Dragonfly. It was like my husband went out in the yard and he was like, you guys have to come see this. When we went outside, our yard was filled with dragonflies. They were everywhere. Wow. And they seemed to be only in our yard. Like I looked in the neighbor's yard and they were just in our yard. So no one can tell me that's not a sign. That's a definite sign.
Yeah, it's a sign. The question is how do you know? How do you know that that moment wasn't produced by the Matrix? And yeah, exactly, Eli. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. It's and the other scenario is this. Let's be generous, okay? And say that it is her father. Okay? So dad dies and immediately transforms into a dragonfly, and what a flock of dragonflies consolidated in her specific area near her. But isn't Dad still in the Matrix? Right? Dad's still in the Matrix. So either way, it's a lose-lose. It's comforting, so I'm not putting down that at all. Because it's a comforting thing to happen when you lose someone, to have that connection, okay? With something right after they die. It's happened to me. But it's a lose-lose situation. If it's them or if it's not, it doesn't matter. They're still within the Matrix if it's real, or it's just the Matrix construct trying to keep you attached. What else would it do? It not only comforts you, but it comforts you and keeps you attached to it, to that acceptance of this Matrix and what goes on, and in the afterlife. So you get that brief comfort, and it helps you what? Later on at death, oh, I'm going to join Dad, I'm going to join Mom, I'm going to join my whoever, Grandma, Grandpa. And it continues until you take the initiative to cut it off and realize I'm standing up for myself, and that's what everyone has to do individually when they're ready. And then at the time of natural death, take full control and don't look back.
It is. I go by this motto because for me, I've been through so many conversations about signs with people. And to me, it's like, if you think it's a sign, that's the end of the discussion. It's a sign. And you think you saw a sign, then you did. That's how it works. It's most definitely.
Yeah.
Because you thought it.
I've had signs from my dogs that have passed. And I love it.
Yeah.
I just love it. It is.
You've been an absolute joy. Thank you so much for being on the channel. I really enjoyed talking to you.
I had fun talking to you as well. And I can't wait to see it. I just want to share what I experienced, in the hopes that, like you said, that it will help someone. So I hope it does.
True. I'm sure it will. And it's going to be a good thing. It's a good vibe.
All right. So that'll wrap up NDE 1. I think we can make it through the next one. So if you guys just hang in there with me, I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll meet back here then and continue on to NDE number 2, where we're going to be going on to Steven, who had a drug overdose. So just as a reminder again, tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be having a live stream. The link isn't up yet, but keep checking back. Probably not going to have it up till tomorrow, early afternoon, late morning. So check back for the home screen. If you're a member of the Discord, I'll also post a link in there. And so yeah, see you in a few moments. Thank you. Alrighty, welcome back. Thank you for your patience. Sorry about the mix-up right there prior to the break. Got a little crazy. Okay, gonna get this up and running. We're gonna go into the second NDE of the night. And we'll probably go about roughly the same amount of time in the second segment. So just gotta mute the beginning. Okay, there we go. All right, we're good to go. And I'd like to just give a thank you to the channel who had this NDE, Earth to the Other Side. Thank you for providing the interview to us online. And so here we go.
He had what's known as a Takotsubo card.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to pause this really quick. Xavier asked, that this is an important one, how to approach this subject with an elderly loved one. I've talked about this in the past. If you reach out to me on Discord, I'll talk to you in more detail about it. I can't really go into it now because we got to get through this, and it's already after midnight, but I'm more than willing to talk to you if you reach out to me on the Discord. You can find the link in the description. Jimmy, if you're listening, maybe you could, you popped it up already. All right, so the link is right there, right above you there, Xavier. So okay, all right, talk to you then.
Cardiac arrest, Takotsubo syndrome. He had also a stroke, fell down the stairs.
Xavier, just let me know it's you, okay? Thank you.
Broke his neck. Now, Swigert actually stands for creativity, loyalty, and strength. And this is something that Steve definitely does not lack in any sense of the word. Let's just jump right into it. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? And thanks for being here.
Hey, I appreciate it, John.
This is also known as broken heart syndrome, which is usually comes, having already experienced something traumatic or emotional in your life. Why don't you take us back to sort of like what was going on at the time, and then we'll jump into the experience.
I serve on the board of directors at a local theater, and I had been at a show on Friday evening that went into Saturday morning. I walked home 2 to 2.5 miles. So we're looking at about Saturday, 2:30 or 3 a.m. And it was about that time on Sunday that I ended up calling 911, knowing very clearly what was happening. I had some heart problems diagnosed previously. The only thing that got caught in the past was an enlarged heart at one point, which later returned to normal size before my event. And there was another time where my heart beat, and this is ridiculous, 240 beats per minute for 14 hours. Like this time, I knew I was a goner. I had resigned myself to this existence at that point. You can read it in some of my poetry and even some of my music. I knew this day was coming. Hope that if I could get help to try to remain calm. It's important to find an inner calm fast if possible, so that we're not chemically reacting and adding to the chaos and turmoil that you're suffering. And faith is indispensable there. But
okay, just really quickly before he continues, I think it's important to point out that he mentioned how, you can find clues and hints in his journals. There's always hints. I'm telling you, like one of the things I love to do. Now I am, I think most of you know that, I'm not big on this at all, on this whole celebrity culture. But when a celebrity dies, I kind of get into this different mode where I try to find like their last interview or their last public statements, or something. I try to find the last communications that are public, and more often than not, what you're going to find is revealing. It's going to tell you flat out that they knew subconsciously or consciously that their time was coming up. If like a musician might be, one of the tracks on their last album, all sorts of stuff like that. And you'll find it time and time again. It's incredible. One of the more recent ones was, what's his name? Full House guy, Bob Saget. I mean, that's a whole another story in general. There's a whole lot behind that whole mess. Not just, I probably gotta be careful on that one. Not just with what happened, but what was kind of conveyed through his own admissions about his younger years, or what his personality was like. I'll leave it at that. The point is that, if you look up someone popular that is just died, there's a good chance you're going to find a trail. Now, you may not find it every time, because you know what? Maybe you're not running across the last work or the last interview or the last couple interviews or the Facebook post or the Twitter post or the Instagram or all that stuff. Kind of got to go through everything, but most of the time you're going to find something. It tells us, it confirms to us that we're going to get advance notice. We just got to pay attention. That's all. Okay, so I wanted to thank really quickly Mike Alien for the $10 super chat. Thanks for everything, brother. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. So kind of you. Okay, so let's continue.
That leads into what was going on immediately preceding the event itself.
So where were you at this moment in time? You were at home, right?
Yes, in my bedroom, which at that time was upstairs. I've moved it to downstairs now. But I know when I picked up my phone to dial 911, it was nearly impossible. It looked like 8 phones in my hand, all overlapping each other. And I noticed that my finger, at least all of my fingers, I pointed my index finger out. I noticed that at least it went to all those numbers. And somehow I was able to dial, telling them, I don't want to go. Please make sure you bring the defibrillator in my house. I think the door's unlocked. I had not been feeling well at the theater on Friday into Saturday morning. I sat up in the office most of the time while the show was going on downstairs and had a terrible headache. And then when I walked home, I knew I was in worse shape. Anyhow, I was able to communicate to 911 to bring help. I don't have any idea how long it took them to respond.
At this point, you had already fallen down the stairs. I'm just trying to get the order here.
The falling down the stairs was the last thing I did while I was on the phone with 911.
Oh, okay.
I told them I'm going to go and make sure my door's unlocked, because I knew I'm so critical. I don't want a single second wasted, because I want to survive. And the quicker they can get to me, if they have to smash my door down. Plus, I have dogs. I want to make sure they're secure after I'm leaving the home with them. And I'm positive the lady said, Mr. Schweigert, please don't do that. And that's the last thing I remember. I'm just down the steps. That's the last thing I remember while I'm on the phone with them. My steps go straight down, probably 11 steps, and then make a right angle turn. Mm-hmm. So my house is a double brick house with plaster walls. And so when I went down the steps, I think my face just went slamming straight into the plaster wall. I think being crumpled down there in that part where the stairs turn, and when I got up, my neck was over like this, and this arm I couldn't move. I actually ended up picking this arm up like this and pushing it over and screaming to feel if blood and to see if any bones were protruding, but also like where, just trying to assess everything. But there comes a point where it's like, okay, I know my neck's broken. I'm positive. Knew that I couldn't believe that I was awake and that I could move, first of all. But I knew that my time was very short. And I mean, it sounds insane, but I sat with my behind down on the floor. And so I'm sitting in this position, and I tried my best to aim my neck part, like so I would hit it against the floor. And I did that 3 different times. And on the third time, that was the last, third time's a charm. And I truly thought that. It's crazy. This all might have happened over 20 or 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds in reality. But it's amazing how much we can think in that little short period of time. I knew this is it. There's no way. And then if I do survive, I'm absolutely going to be paralyzed. So I already was in a delicate state. I have spinal stenosis throughout my whole spine. I have ankylosing spondylitis and spondylosis. I have slip discs in all 3 regions: lumbar, lower, thoracic, middle, cervical, neck parts of my spine. And I've broken a lumbar vertebrae in the past. So, I already had massive spinal cord impingement. It's a miracle still today, even before all this, that I was functional. And I've never told the doctors about that. There's no time to tell them all that stuff. You're trying to process what's happening. After the 3rd time hitting my neck on the floor, in their hardwood floors, remember going to a place that was just completely pitch black. And the only thing that I thought was, how do I get back to the woman that I was in love with at that time and my dogs, of all things. And the next thing I remember is waking up to CPR, and I was very combative, but probably only, seconds of really combative. I was gone and revived by CPR then. And I completely believe that I died on the way to the hospital, because I remember flying over the ambulance and knowing that my body was inside.
Yeah. We've talked about other cases like that too, where a person gets into like a horrific car accident and they end up in an ambulance, and they're either floating above themselves inside the ambulance or outside the ambulance, and essentially going to the ER like for the ride the entire way, like floating above it, or just still having that connection to the body. Because those traumatic moments can separate the high level of pain, and obviously the flatlining is a big part of that too. So yeah, we're just seeing another typical case. As we move along in this case, my heart goes out to him. You can tell he's kind of sifted through things as best he can, and had this life-changing and life-altering experience that set him on a certain path. But that's what we see, right, in many of these cases, if not all. So we'll move along. But there's a really, really important moment that is revealed during this NDE that we're going to touch on.
And knowing that I was still not in my vessel any longer and in soul form. And the crazy thing was, I knew I was going to make it back already at that point too, which is kind of a strange knowingness to have.
You had mentioned that you were in like a pitch black, commonly referred to as the void, which is just blackness, not void of love, not void of other spirits, but just total, a large, vast blackness. Is that sort of like what you think you experienced?
Yeah, 100%. If you've ever been camping out in the mountains and there's cloud cover and there's no, it's when the moon cycles at its least amount of illumination, and you really can't see the hand in front of you. It's beyond that, because you know that you're in soul form And, at that point, it's only the self that's there in your.
It's only the self that's there. Now, see, this is, in my opinion, a matrix void. Okay, if there's still a link to the body, and what we're gonna hear more of, that's like a matrix void. You have to ask yourself, why is that there? Because it's another sense of familiarity, but in other cases, it can scare the shit out of people because it's so deafening, so quiet, so lonely. And then sometimes people get picked on. They'll have a negative, hell-like NDE because they just can't handle it. They're so used to sensory overload, 24/7, boom, 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 all the time, that they just can't handle it. But a lot of times, that's linked to something deeper. Those hell-like NDEs. That's linked to something deeper that they've carried with them throughout their lives and haven't reconciled yet. And so the Matrix picks on them. Gives them what they think they need. Targets them. But I'm not talking about this guy's case. I'm just talking about the hell-like NDEs, okay?
Your own thoughts, from my experience. And I was only there as long as I could think what I just said earlier. How do I get back? I have no idea how long I'm physically lying on my floor dead before they get here to start administering CPR after they assess everything. And I know a police officer came first to the house, just happened to meet him down at the theater one night on an occasion after all of this stuff happened to me, and his eyes were huge. Like he knew it was me, but he couldn't believe it was me, really something. And, of course I thanked them. Can't thank the medical professionals, the police, everybody involved. I'll never be able to thank them enough.
And in this void, just going back to the void for a second, I gather you didn't experience any pain. Like, what did it feel like while you were in there?
No pain there, but certainly in pain when I came to from CPR, the worst pain ever. First was on the floor, then CPR, which I'm sure had to be in my house, and then waking up and screaming and being combative. And I was out almost as quick as I woke up. This pain with my neck was just unbelievable. It was terrible. And the next thing I remember is I feel like I'm above my body while I'm on the, it seemed like they had one of those ambulance beds that was like electric or something like that, big heavy thing. But my house has got a very narrow entrance, and I swear we were going by the house down the steps, and like one of the guys fell over, or they almost knocked me in the bed over or something like that. And maybe that's not what happened, but it sure seems like I remember that. Mm-hmm. And then the next moment we're about a mile, like I don't remember anything after that. The next moment I remember we're about, like, from my house to the hospital's probably no more than 2.5 miles. And about halfway there, 1.25 miles, somewhere in that range, I remember just like I'm out of body and flying above the ambulance, looking down, knowing I'm gone inside of the ambulance, of course.
Okay, right.
I knew it as soon as I woke up from CPR. I knew why I was aspirating. I knew that help was there. That was a great relief in a certain aspect. Even out of body, it's kind of hard to believe, but so much is being processed, during this whole time. But that's the next moment I believe I remember is above the ambulance. Well, I definitely felt like I went through a wormhole throat. You often hear people, they see the light and going through the tunnel. I love physics. To me, it was a wormhole throat. I mean, I'm not saying those folks are wrong. I think they're 100% right. I definitely saw I didn't see a light at that point. I saw like a kaleidoscope of different color lights, but they're not like the color here. Just every range of color luminescing, but spinning. I don't want to say it was all spinning in one direction either. It was like a conglomeration and everything doing its own chaos of light. And then through a tunnel, and you know you're going through a tunnel, but everything I've read about physics and black holes, et cetera, it seems.
Okay. This is an important part that he talks about. You know you're going through a tunnel. Okay. You start seeing these geometric patterns, or however you want to describe it. Okay. People describe it differently. So just whatever it is, it is. But it's a tunnel. And you know you're going through a tunnel. That's important, because what does that make you realize? You realize that, oh shit, I'm in the tunnel. I got to put a stop to this right now. So I am standing up for myself and saying, wait a minute. Like, if it gets to that point, I think for many of us who truly see what's going on, we'll be fine. There's probably going to be no interference. I say all the time, it's just simply not allowed. That's the mindset you need to be putting out there to have that sovereign direction, right? So when natural death does occur, that you're all kind of in the best mindset possible. So just consider that. You know you're going through a tunnel. So if you end up finding yourself in that scenario, put a stop to it immediately. Take back control. If for some reason you kind of slipped or ended up in a scenario where you are in the tunnel, or, you know, you're going to have a little bit of time. You're going to be racing towards it, towards the light. And normally the light will be in the distance, like a little pinprick, and then it'll grow and grow and grow. Put a stop to it. Put a stop to it. That's all I'm saying. Take control of yourself. Be the master of your own domain and get the hell out of there. Monkey Man donated super chat, $20. Love your content, brother. Thank you so much. That's very kind to you. Thank you so much. Very kind and generous. Thank you. All right, so let's continue.
So much like I'm living through like what happens after the event horizon and stuff, and it felt like that. I didn't have a life review. That's another thing that a lot of people we'll talk about. And I felt like, you know, when I first went to the place of blackness and then died, I was brought back by CPR, but apparently I died again at the hospital because I remember being defibrillated 3 times. You know, I felt like the only thing I wanted was to return to the woman that I loved and my dogs who show me unconditional love. The whole thing was love. And my first moment in death, the only thought was love. And I just felt like that was the reason why I was allowed to come back. And it sounds kind of nutty, but there was a point.
Gonna rewind it.
The only thought was love. And I just felt like that was the reason why I was allowed to come back. And it sounds kind of nutty, but
love is the only reason I was allowed to come back. And, you know, again, my heart goes out to Steven, all right? And all these people that go through this experience and have to come back and or eventually grapple with their experience, depending. Some will share it right away. Some will sit on it for years, sometimes over, you know, decade or 2 until they feel comfortable sharing it. And you know what? We see the same thing most of the time. Love, love, love. Everything's love. And again, I ask you, if you're being honest with yourselves, you got to say, if everything's love, what the fuck's going on here? What's going on here? You see how, again, I mean, I know I say a lot of the same things. The reason I keep doing this, going through all these cases, I'm trying to build a database of evidence, okay, of cases that I feel are interesting, cases I feel that need discernment, cases I feel are, you know, strong, and then some just like your everyday case. And I just want to keep building on that database so that someone who comes across this channel at some point that wants to dive into the stuff will see that, you know, pattern after pattern after pattern after pattern. We see the same thing all the time, and things don't match up. Like the narratives that are pushed during the experience and what is proclaimed to be in relation to here does not exist. They do not match up. I don't care who you are. I don't. Some people's lives are better than others, but the point is you still have this human form. You still have this body. You still have to, you still are probably going to get injured throughout your life. You're going to get hurt. You're going to heartbreak, all this, you know, maybe abused. Who knows? All right. You're going to deal with something. So even the people who, you know, walk into certain scenarios that are better than others, health could go bad. Health could be great. But what happens 40, 50 years old? Body starts breaking down. In reality, you only have what? 4 decades? 5 of solid health if you haven't had issues yet? And then what? You're going to live to your 80? So you got 30 years of misery maybe? Body's breaking down, got to go to the doctor, got to do this, got to do that. Got to try this treatment, got to try that. Maybe your pension got stolen. You worked 30 years, your pension got stolen. It went bank, you know, there's bankrupt, or stock market crashes, the dollar, inflation starts, food shortages. This place is very unstable. The human body is very unreliable. The experience we are being peddled with does not represent what this whole love thing is in the astral. And I'm going to keep repeating it. And the reason I repeat it is because they just got to drive the point home. And I'm going to keep pointing it out video after video. So those that are new that come across this content see what's going on. Because it's over and over and over and over. All right. That's the end of my rant. Thank you for listening. Let's continue.
There was a point at that same time, like I didn't hear anything. I just had a knowingness that I was going to come back. And I also wanted to go as deep as I could into the experience of death too, which is kind of strange, but I've read about some of this stuff when I was young, before this ever happened to me. But I grew up with severe asthma and almost died a few times. But none of this kind of stuff happened to me. And so I remember being defibrillated at the hospital. And so obviously I'm gone again. So I've been revived by CPR. I'm back. I'm gone again. And the next thing I remember after, so I felt like I didn't have a life review because my only thought was love. Okay. And, you know, that's just my own instinct or feeling about that, you know, and
I didn't have a life review because I was love. Or maybe they knew they didn't need to give you one, I guess. Could be something like that too. You know, if I'll just leave it alone. Leave it alone.
the next thing I remember is it felt like I was at the edge of a meadow. I like to hike. And there was a beautiful field of just incredible flowers of all different colors, and the perfect breeze, the perfect temperature, music, like the celestial music's hard to even explain. It was almost like every presence had a contributing tone. The way our body or our spirit resonates. Yeah. And it's not like the earthly music that we make. It was just something that's truly indescribable, but it was the most beautiful music I've ever heard. Now, the person that I was in love with, that I wanted to come back for, was...
All right, really, really quickly. Kind of what we talked about in the beginning with Patty, how she was talking about the tulips, and he's seeing flowers, a meadow, however you want to describe it. And we talked about how we see other NDEs with the same type of thing. Although with Patty, it was like a life review. Her life was, flickering before her eyes like a interactive film. And it was her mother's tulips in front of the house, or whatever the case was. So I think it's important to point that out, how they were vibrant and things like that, and how we see this garden narrative, this meadow narrative, sometimes streams or lakes, rolling hills, peaceful, serene realms that make it easy, right? Comfort areas of the Matrix.
It was just something that's truly indescribable, but it was the most beautiful music I've ever heard. Now, the person that...
Now, really quickly on the music, I have a whole video I'm going to do on music, because some people experience that, like very divine, amazing music when they have an NDE. And we'll be getting into that probably in the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for that.
It was just something that's truly indescribable, but it was the most beautiful music I've ever heard. Now, the person that I was in love with, that I wanted to come back for, was with me there. She's still alive. We both broke our necks. She can walk, I can walk. It's kind of crazy stuff. And we ended up spending a year and a half together. And we're still friends, and we go our separate ways at times, and we've done that. And I'm so thankful for the time that we shared.
Okay, so this is one of those rare cases where you see, he experienced seeing a loved one who was alive. There aren't many of these. They exist, but there aren't many. And just like clockwork, the next part comes out that we see time and time again, where relationships are, he's not saying he doesn't appreciate her and that, but they're not a couple anymore. That's the interpretation I'm getting here. Most NDEers come back and experience divorce within 5 years. And most friends, family can't relate with the person when they come back. There's a period of depression, usually a spiritual vigor that comes with the person when they come back. And they change their life, usually for the good. Usually they do great, and they also help people. So there is that positive. So, as much as we knock on these things, there is some good that comes out of it. Now, is it good that we, that the Matrix marketing department is working full time through them because of this life-changing experience, and in turn we get to hear it? No. But what if we didn't hear it? We wouldn't be able to analyze these. Wouldn't be able to break them down and put, you know, put the feet to the fire, so to say. So we're extremely lucky that we live in this time to have access to such information, that, you know, people are feeling comfortable enough to come out and share these things with us, and that we can piece together the patterns, you know, case after case, topic after topic, and really come away with a hell of an outline as to what's going on here. Now, you know, is there any definitiveness that we can say on a lot of it? No, you know, but I mean, all we really see at the end of the day is like that there's something messing with us, something that's putting this veil of forgetfulness over us, claiming it to be something that we're supposed to just automatically trust and give ourselves away to and go along with. And that's all I'm saying, is enough of that. Yeah, love bombs. Come on. I mean, it's just, it's on and on and on and on. But I mean, you know, how hard is it for people to come back from these things? You know, most of the time they're getting divorced, breaking up with their girlfriend, their boyfriend. That's not easy. And then, you know, the dust settles and they're better, but they're also part of the Matrix marketing department.
And we needed each other. Mm-hmm. And she was there at this meadow with me. And there was a castle in the distance, and I knew that was our home for eternity. And sorry, getting emotional, can't help it. Promised okay, I wouldn't. Please. But that was one of the most beautiful things, because I've been divorced twice, and I sure feel like I've had my heart ripped out quite a few times at 54, and I don't want to quit. I want to share my life with somebody. And there came a peace because I know what's waiting, you know, and that castle's whatever we make it here. And I know what's there. And I remember there came another place, there came another place where I knew I was in the presence of all that came before me and remained to stay. I totally believe people cycle back spiritually. The spirit cycles back, or
there'll be no cycling back up in here. Let's just get that off the table.
I was in the presence of all that came before me and remained to stay. I totally believe people cycle back spiritually. The spirit cycles back, or can ascend and stay. Mm-hmm. It depends. We each have our own journey, and
we each have our own journey. And my journey is to get the hell out of here at the time of natural death and don't look back and never set foot in this nightmare again.
I know that at that place we were nothing physical. We were just presences, and we all had one thought and one mind, but we also had ourselves as we know ourselves today. And the amazing thing there was everything we all would desire would appear, and you would not know it different than not being physical. It seemed physical, but if there was a moment, it
seemed physical. Talk about this all the time. Again, we all the time, we see how there are things in the astral that look familiar here. I call it, now I'm probably going to butcher it, the continuity of familiarity. I was able to get it out. Usually trip over those words. But anyways, and the reason I put forth that exists is to make you feel at home. Make us feel at home. Make us feed the addiction to this place, to cycle back here, to keep that going over and over and over again until we finally stand up for ourselves, realize our true selves, reclaim our true selves. And that's really what it's all about, right? But boy, is the deck stacked against us. They've thought of almost everything, but they cannot contain it fully. That's why I talk about how if this whole transhumanist thing is going where it seems to blatantly be going, then they're still not going to be able to contain it completely. They can't. That part of you is still going to be there, although none of us are going to be complying with that shit. I know that damn well. I bet that's 100% in agreement with that. I would hope. But if you know, there's maybe that one or two people out there who are thinking of something like that, you know, merging technology with your body. Well, you're allowing a corporation to basically have the rights to control you. That's what happens. So, and, you know, we've talked about on the channel how this is not new. It's happened before. We see it in artwork, ancient artwork. Humanity has been through this before. We see transhumanism, trans species, all sorts of crazy shit going on in art. Egypt, China, India, on and on and on. The Mayans. We see it. It's there. The proof is there. Oh, it's so what? We didn't live back there, but you know, all these cultures are showing us examples of all these wacky looking things, half human, half bird. All sorts of weird shit. That's because this whole thing has happened before. Transhumanism, trans species. You think the everyday person had access to something like that? I don't think so. But I do think at least the more freeing aspects of it. Sure, yeah, they might throw you a bone here and there and, you know, increase your intelligence within the network that they allow you to be connected to. We see how just in our lifetime, how the internet was once the wild, wild west. You could find anything and everything. And you still can in many, many respects, but still, we've seen just the evolution and suppression that has occurred in all these major platforms, hiding things, changing books because of gender, because of race. Really? And so what, you maybe you merge with this technology and then all of a sudden you're getting, you know, watered down, edited, not original source material sanctioned by your local government, by your local corporation. Thank you for coming. See you on your next tune-up.
It's like shown to me. If there was just one dissension, it could have been a billion, it could have been 3 souls. If there was one notion that went against what everybody wanted, everything disappeared. The that was, again, quite fascinating in itself. These things are so very real. I know they sound like pure lunacy to a person that's not experienced having a near-death experience. They're more real than real itself that we know each day through this journey of life on Earth. If I ever had doubt that I was coming back, it was just a very quick moment before there, because I didn't know how to step back into my body. And it sounds silly, but I thought to myself, well, I've always had the gift of gab, and I'll just start talking. And as soon as I started talking, I was returned. And, you know, I have listened to other people's NDEs and everything. I didn't go slamming back into my body. It wasn't, it was just a seamless transition. I was just back. I'm laying supine, so I'm, you know, back down on the bed, face up. And there's a nurse at the left of my left side, but they're waiting for the doctor to call my death. And so at that moment where I said, well, I'm good at talking, I'll just talk, I said, well, I guess I died. And I said it relatively quiet because I didn't want to scare them. But the nurse, you know, she jumped and, oh my God, what do we do? And the doctor's shocked, but not as shocked as her. He says, well, I guess we have a patient again.
So I know, like you do, that, you know, our consciousness, our soul, our true essence of being is not part of our body. I know that without a doubt. There's no doubt about that for sure.
No, I'm glad that you know and appreciate that. And you know, I hope through faith that others will learn that. And I have faith that that's part of their journey.
Or did you feel or sense any other presence during your near-death experience?
Well, I told my sister, my eldest sister, she asked me, can you tell me anything about it? And I said, well, I was with the great council in the sky. And I...
Dun, dun, dun. There's that word, council.
Can you tell me anything about it? And I said, well, I was with the great council in the sky. And I have no idea where that came from, other than that I knew that's where I was. But
I had no idea where that came from. Sit on that one for a minute. 15-foot Jesus. Shout out. The council. I don't know where that came from.
Can you tell me anything about it? And I said, well, I was with the great council in the sky. And I have no idea where that came from, other than that I knew that's where I was. But I didn't see them. This was, again, I knew I was in their presence. There was no doubt about it. And the first thing that was really, really clear to me is, wow, we are so naked at the throne of God. They know me better than I know myself. If you could imagine.
I wonder why they know him better than himself. Because they have access to all of his lifetimes. They have access to, they tap into his essence and cut off certain parts that would maybe piece things together, make him think for himself, make him stand up for himself, bow down at the throne naked. Right, Jesus? 15-foot Jesus is in the chat. We've talked about that. You know, there's a 15-foot Jesus appears. And the person's like, you know, grappling around like the sandal, you know. Please, please. Come on, come on. Oh, God.
Me is, wow, we are so naked at the throne of God. They know
the
me
throne
better.
I hate hearing the throne of God. The throne of parasites. Okay, let's just call it what it is.
Than I know myself. If you could imagine a drone that would follow you throughout all of life and knew everything about your inner thoughts and all of your actions, that's how naked you are. And I hope people think about that, because it's a fact. And it was you know, the Akashic record mentions things like this, and I don't want to get off on some different subjects, but there's some amazing things to study today. And those things don't emanate from nothingness. They have come forth through our own evolution and thinking and sharing experience. And just because we might not be able to put solid ground scientifically under all of it, doesn't mean disregard it all. Everything that's thought to be lunacy, not everything, many things are thought to be lunacy and then are accepted as absolute paradigm shifts in science. And all I think is to be open-minded to those things which you cannot prove. And
be open-minded to submission. Be open-minded to the throne of God and being naked and bowing down before 15-foot Jesus with demon red eyes. Just saying. I know we're crossing over some NDEs, but it's just can't help it. There's a lot of fun in the chat right now.
That's what being open-minded is really about. That, you know, there's so much more to learn if our mind is pried open in that regard. You know, if we know something absolutely can't happen, we will not see it happening. We won't experience it happening because we'll be in denial. And then when we're in denial, we miss a good chunk of life. But it's part of our makeup also. I knew I was going back at that moment. I wanted to go as deep as I could because I knew I was going to go back to life. So I wanted to see what is there. We're all fascinated with where we came from. It felt like when I went through the wormhole throat, I saw from the beginning of probably mankind all the way to at least my point up into heaven. But it was like I started.
Whoa.
From the beginning of probably mankind all the way to at least my point up into heaven. But it was like.
So you saw the misery that has plagued this place for who knows how long. The control. The endless control on into your descent into heaven. And it still didn't click? Still didn't question it? Just saying.
I started off, okay, slow motion was already like nearing light speed, it felt like. And then the rest of it was like so fast, I can't recall it. But there's definitely this, you know, everything when you're there. There's an all-knowingness. I do remember flying over the pyramids when they were being built, the Great Pyramid in particular. Again, this was like super, super fast, but I remember people working. I remember like pulleys and ropes, and I remember animals being utilized to pull with physical labor too. No aliens, no nothing like that. People working together with a common goal, and really about faith again.
There's that word. There's that word. Faith. One of the words that plagues this place the most. Faith. Do I really need to say anything else? I mean, it's faith. Faith in the astral? Faith. Maybe he knows deep within himself that something's not right. To use that word specifically, and I think everyone knows that the word is self-explanatory. Right? Faith.
People working together with a common goal, and really about faith again. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it was like, and then I'm, you know, through the wormhole throat, and it's calm.
Oh, working together, faith, and boom, through the wormhole. Bye-bye.
You know, when you're going through the wormhole through it, you know you're going forward. I don't think I fell into the place of blackness, but you feel like that. If you didn't actually feel like you were falling, when you're there, you feel like you fell to it, if that makes sense. Like I saw all recorded history or something ridiculous. And I feel like all that's...
All right, so I meant to bring this up when he kind of alluded to it earlier, that people think that they are all-knowing and they have the answer to every question and blah, 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 but yet they come back under the memory wipe with the most basics. They have a big experience to share. Yeah, just have faith. Just have faith, Michael. Yeah, just have faith. Have faith that, it's all as it's supposed to be, that it's all lined up in the way it's supposed to be for all of us. God's waiting. So, sorry, kind of.
Stuff's up here. I can't unscramble it. I'm not supposed to yet or something. It is so ridiculously fast how quick you will see some of this stuff. You can't possibly process it. And
well, if you can't process it, maybe it's not, maybe there's something wrong. I mean, are we talking about processing in terms of the human experience or the astral experience? Maybe it's information overload. Maybe it's designed that way. Maybe it's part of your true essence that comes back, but you're still confined within a realm that relates to the Matrix that could be an issue. If you're in, if you go to somebody's house and they want to protect their home, their family, their pets, whoever, their property in general, in a lot of places, if they want to take you out, they can. Because you're in their world, their realm, their mini realm. So a person's property line is their paradise, their place. They have their house, they have their TV, they have their car, they have their husband, the wife, the children, the dogs. And they're going to run that place the way they want to run that place. So why would it be any different in the astral? I mean, I would think providing information overload would be a good tactic, whether, true or false. But if you fall under the veil of their property line, let's say in the astral, then again, you're in their world. There's a certain set of rules and parameters that may have to be abided by or are abided by through manipulation and memory wipes.
But there, that you have this all-knowingness, like, oh, wow, all these questions are answered. I've heard this said to me incorrectly many times. A lot of people say they could see around them 360 degrees. That leaves you limited to like a circle around your eyes. If peripheral stops at about 180, 160, somewhere in that degrees, spherical would be 360. This was like being able to see in every direction as if you could see spherically around yourself. But you could focus where you would want to. So I knew at that point, flying through the wormhole throat, I was that way. The interesting thing is that at the meadow, I was in body form, but light body. It's not a physical body still. It's a perfect body of energetic light is what it felt like. Absolutely no pain, absolutely no fear, absolutely no stress. There's parts of the adventure, the journey that are perfect bliss, but at the meadow, it just felt it was bliss. I mean, it felt like, wow, it is truly awe-inspiring. There's no words to do justice to any of this. You know, that's the most difficult thing, is to try to relate things that are so foreign to us from what we're used to. It feels like
okay. What I'm gonna do is we're over 2 hour and 20-minute mark, so I just gotta take a quick break, and we'll finish up this NDE. We've got about another 15 minutes to go, maybe 20 with commentary, so hang tight, and we'll get to the end of this. Thanks for hanging in there. Wow, 1 a.m. So I may keep the break kind of short, but yeah, thanks for hanging in there. We'll see you in a moment. Thank you. 20 more hours to go. Patience. Alright, we're gonna get into the tail end of this NDE. And hey T, good to see you. Hey Enemy, hope you're doing well. Urantia, Paul, Michael again, Jimmy, thank you again for your help. As always, much appreciated, my friend. Alright, so let's dive back into Steven's NDE. And just again as a reminder, tomorrow, or today, technically, Sunday, April 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern, we'll be having a live stream together. And it's going to be a good one. We're going to get into some really interesting information and be part of an ongoing collaboration between three of us. So, all right. Okay. Just so you guys know, there is a Discord server related to the channel. So if you'd like to join us, we have regular voice chats in there. We share information. Good group of people, a lot of smart people in there. Just like in the comment sections in the live chat. So feel free to join us. And you can find the Discord link in the description tab of this video. And we're starting to put it in there. Jimmy just popped it in the chat as well. So if you'd like to join us, feel free. And there will likely be a after show talk in there if you'd like to swing by. So, all right. Let's roll. Here we go.
Is to try to relate things that are so foreign to us from what we're used to. It feels like I remember less than 1% of what I experienced. And
it feels like I remember less than 1% of what I experienced. So a veil. So a disconnect. So hiding information unknowingly due to powers that have been allowed to do such things. But, you know, the other part of it is, you know, it's a totally different state that he's in, right? In the astral. So we have to take that into account. But we also have to take into account that there is this memory wipe that's present in NDEs too. Self-admitted by many. It's usually very, very quick. Kind of got to pay attention. You know, not all of them say it, but it's out there. So, you know, we're not allowed to let you remember this because it's going to impact your free will when you go back. Yeah, sure. Okay. Anyways, you get the point.
It feels like I remember less than 1% of what I experienced. And I remember a lot compared to other folks that have NDEs. I'll tell you, I talked to one of my friends who was very interested about what happened to me from the point of view as you are interested. Some people want to hear about it, but you know, other people are very into studying and meeting people that go through these kind of experiences. And he was one of those folks. And I couldn't articulate myself to him. And I felt like a lunatic. And, you know, it's been very hard to just be able to put any of this into words. I'm thankful that the hospital that treated me had a patient portal so that I could look at all of my records there from this event and to see how well things were documented. The other thing is, and this is amazing. I don't want to sound like I'm taking credit from the medical professionals. They carried me through death and did everything humanly possible to bring me back to life. And they had to come to a place, or they came to a place where they had to stop trying to resuscitate me. And they were only waiting for a unbiased and objective doctor who was not on the medical team to come in and call my death. And I remember that discussion as I'm above my body. I remember them, well, we need to get so-and-so. And I knew it was very clear to me that this was somebody that was not on the treating team of professionals by my side, carrying me through death. So after the event, I went home, and I went home in 5 days for one thing, which is kind of ridiculous. I took my neck brace off in 2 days. I used my shower chair one time. I had a nurse come to my house the first 2 days. She said, well, you don't need me anymore. I'm going to sign off on you. My neurosurgeon was very upset with me that I wasn't wearing my neck brace, but it was restricting my breathing, and my heart had not healed much at that point.
God forbid he not wear the neck brace when it's restricting his airflow. I mean, and the doctor's getting upset with him. Okay. Thank you, AA, for your kind $1.49 super chat. Thank you so much. It's great to see you. I hope you're doing well out there. Thank you.
My neurosurgeon was very upset with me that I wasn't wearing my neck brace, but it was restricting my breathing, and my heart had not healed much at that point. The greatest question of all time is always, what is the meaning of life? It's to evolve the soul. We are not evolved souls here.
Yeah. Because we keep falling for it. We keep falling for the illusion. We keep falling for the attachments and the addiction of this experience and everything that relates to it. That's it. Hinduism says it. Buddhism says it. And you know me, I'm not anything religious whatsoever. It's just obvious that all of these things need to be released. All these attachments need to be released at the time of natural death, leading up to natural death. Kind of living that existence day to day with the knowing that, when the time comes and you start chipping away at those attachments along the, as you go through the years, the months, days, weeks, you put it to the test. So that when the big moment comes, when you kind of get that premonition, that knowing that it's time, that you'll be in the best position possible. That's what it's all about. Otherwise, you may fall into the trap of believing that, this is a school, it's for your spiritual development, that you need to go hang out with 15-foot Jesus and bow down to him on his throne naked, on your knees, beg for forgiveness, atone for your sinning and your karma, perceived karma, mind you. You don't want to be in the position where you are having to answer to somebody else that is pretending to be more powerful than you. Because again, all they have are illusions. That's it. I know I repeat myself, but it can't be stated enough that all they have are illusions, deception, manipulation, the fear, guilt, control matrix. That's all it is. And as long as you don't allow yourself to fall victim to that and stand your own ground and be your own self, find yourself, release yourself from the chains at the time of natural death, everything will be cool. You deserve it. Everybody deserves that. Nobody deserves to go through this shit lifetime after lifetime and then be memory wiped. Who can possibly rationalize that? Really? And if someone is rationalizing that, that's on them. That's on them. But don't let it impact you. Don't let it impact me. Remember, this is an individual journey. There is no winning people over unless they're receptive. And that's just the hard truth of it. It's very difficult because just like with truths you may learn of this matrix, the same applies spiritually, metaphysically, that you have you. And that's really, at the end of the day, what matters. Sounds cold-hearted. Oh, I don't want to reunite with my family. I don't want to reunite with this one. I don't want to, rediscover my soul group. And oh my God, it was memory wiped. I was down in this physical realm for, however many years. And then I died a natural death. And, here I am again. Okay, you ready to go back? Really? That's what we're looking at. This is what we see.
The greatest question of all time is always, what is the meaning of life? It's to evolve the soul.
No, it's not.
We are not evolved souls here. We are each evolved to a different point, but we are not yet evolved or ascended souls yet. And,
because it's of our own doing. We have chosen, consented via our intention to make those decisions, to feel that way, to fall victim to this system. Knowingly, deceptively, and unknowingly. Don't point your intention in the wrong place. Realize that you are way more than this physical body. You have tremendous power, and that you call the shots. No one else. That's the important part, my friends. Leave it alone.
God's not done with us because we have work to do on ourselves. And the faith part of that to me is an action of lifting those around you. And, I was carried by those medical professionals, by those law enforcement, whoever showed up at my house, they carried me through death back to life. Even though the best medical science in the world left me dead and supine on a bed, faith is what brought me back. It's beautiful because there's no question about
faith is what brought me back.
Is what brought me back. The world left me dead and supine on a bed. Faith is what brought me back. It's beautiful because
faith is what brought me back. Hope is what brought me back. Not knowing is what brought me back. Not standing up for myself is what brought me back. We've all fallen for it. We're here, right? We're fucking here. Take advantage of the time that you have and live that day to day with the right intention. So when that time comes, the natural death, that you'll be set up and good to go. Everything of your own making.
There's no question about it. When you are there, you know you are home. Capital H-O-M-E.
Feel
not
home.
Lowercase H-O-M-E, but home, heaven, because we fight and we hurt one another, and there's truly no need for it. The reason we do all those things is because we lack faith.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not starved a day in my life. We have enough food to feed the world many times over just by the production of our country alone. Yet there's starvation. And on we could go like this. And, when we talk about the sins, we're surrounded by it. Many people think maybe this is the opposite of heaven. I don't want to say that. Although I've been molested growing up, I was by the Pentagon on September the 11th. I've been molested growing up. I was by the Pentagon on September the 11th.
Mm-hmm. So the second one.
I've been molested growing up. I was by the Pentagon on September the 11th.
We know how authentic that one was, right?
I've gone through some crazy things. I had to testify against a friend who murdered his father, who was my former boss that I was going to go back to work for.
Ouch.
Goodness.
I've had to go through some really tough things. My father was shot in the head in Vietnam and survived, but I remember that from the very earliest moments of my life. This touch and go of life. I've always felt death on my heels, but we all know the presence when we're there, and the intuition within ourselves. We all have this voice inside. It's okay to listen to it.
Definitely.
A lot of people are out of tune. I hope everybody has that voice
inside. You should be
listening
to it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. To hold on, every storm passes, and pray a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave my family. Mm-hmm. I'm just thankful. I hear a lot of people talk about their near-death experience and they didn't want to come back. And I understand that.
But
I'm glad that I am back. I'm very thankful I'm back. I've always been appreciative of life, but I've never been so appreciative of life. It's an incredible journey to share. And I have met, so many wonderful people along the way that have helped me,
Mm-hmm.
They build faith in others by giving of themselves.
There's that word again. Faith.
Not just to earn money, but to help people through their lives, to lift people through their lives.
At any point in time before you left, within those 5 days, did you ever discuss this with the doctors or the nurses about what you saw when you were out of body with them?
Most of them don't want to hear it. I kind of tried. But one thing that was very strange when I came back, I could see my thoughts. Almost like looking at a TV, but they're kind of projected out in front of you. I don't want to say that they're projected, but they're just, they're kind of overlapping reality. The difference of what's what.
Yeah.
But I truly could see, it's like abstract thinking times a million. They didn't want to hear about that stuff. And I did tell them, when I went through the surgery, I remember an awful lot through.
They didn't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
that too, and I'm not supposed to have. I told them when they were hooking. I told them when they plugged them in, and I told them when the device was uploading, like, oh, it's linked up, and now what is it doing, a software upgrade? And it was like, like, how can you possibly? And I told them, I said, well, you know how the universe has radiation background? I said, well, I'm just listening to my body. And anytime there's something that's like just different from the background noise, I know it's something you did electronically. But one quick last thing, I really wanted to meet all of the people that helped me. First of all, I want to thank them all for carrying me through this process at the time of my event and after. If everybody was good to each other today, we could wake up tomorrow without any problems.
Well put. Steve, I want to, you and I have been talking for a little while now, for a few weeks. I feel like I've gotten to know you quite a bit, and you're such a loving person. And I really mean that. You're a very loving person, and you have a lot to give.
All right. So that is going to wrap up the 2 NDEs. Really quickly, I just would like to let everyone know again, tomorrow live stream, April 10th at 4 p.m. I also have a live stream scheduled with Harold on, I think we agreed on the 16th or 17th. I think it was the 16th at 4 p.m. I have to double check my my notes calendar, but I think it's the 17th at 4 p.m. I'm pretty sure. Either way, just check the homepage. He's going to come on. I did a commentary of his pre-birth memory. I believe it was last year. And then we bumped into each other and been going back and forth and missed each other, and things got busy, and so now we just spoke and got things set. So he will be showing up next weekend, and that's going to be a really interesting one. Tomorrow it's going to be another interesting one, and we're gonna dive into experiences with the channel Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen, who have done a lot of great work, over 500 sessions together of past life regression and entity healing. And they got a lot to say. It's going to be an awesome time together. And anyone who would like to join us, feel free. Again, a link will be posted sometime tomorrow. I'll try and get both of those links up. And then also, just so everybody knows, the member stream for levels 2 and 3 will be on the 30th, or I'm sorry, the 24th. So that's going to be on April 24th. That's a Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will put out a community post as well in the members section for y'all if you'd like to join. And got some great information coming your way for that stream for anyone interested. And I'd like to thank Xavier Lex for the very kind, generous super chat. Again, $13. Thanks for providing a great forum for all of us weirdos to chat about this subject. Yes, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. We're all in this together, but we're all in this individually too, right? It's a wild ride. So, hey D, good to see you. Hope you're doing well, and everyone else out there who's been watching and who may have just showed up. And if you'd like to join us, I also wanted to let you know on Instagram, I'm doing a video series on there. So far there's been 2 about the crossover between DMT breakthrough experiences and near-death experiences, and very, very revealing information. And I'm just kind of doing something over there to spread the word with some different information. And so if you're over there and would like to catch those, I try to let people know like a couple hours in advance, hour in advance, or if it's in the moment, in the Discord. And you can find those links in the description tab. I also have a Twitter, a couple YouTube backup channels just in case something should happen here. And then there is a website in the works that's going to consume a lot of times. And I also want to consume a lot of my time, the website. And I may take a break at some point to try and really just concentrate on that. But an announcement will be coming soon, so hang in there for that. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, I have a D Live, I have an Odyssey. All just kind of backup platforms just in case. And I once in a while play video games on Twitch for anyone that has a Twitch account and likes watching video games. It's not really my thing, but I know some people like to watch, and occasionally I have the microphone if you guys want to talk and stuff. But I think I'm missing one thing here, but anyways, I guess I'll just leave it at that. Oh yeah, Discord. If you'd like to join the Discord, the link is available in the description tab as well, and we'll be having a chat. Sometimes these voice conversations go well into the night, into the next morning, and into the afternoon. So if you'd like to come and join us, feel free. We'd love to have you. And I'll probably pop in there for a little while before I go to bed. I'm not going to be there that long. It's already like 1:40 in the morning, but I'll swing in there right now. And if you guys want to shoot the shit for a little bit, I'll see you there. So hang in there, stay safe, stay sovereign. Apply your intention in the right place. Remember, you're more than your physical body. Sovereignty and liberation it's a given. But you got to put yourself in that position. But remember, the time of natural death, and if you are having issues with some of the information being shared, please know that, it's just my thoughts on all this. Even though I feel strongly about them, I think it's important that, if people are grappling with this information and it's difficult, that, we're there for each other. But sometimes that's not, there's more going on at home. That, things are not easy. Or in the head, it's not easy. So please take a look at the description tab if you feel that this information is causing you to consider hurting yourself or others. To please use the listed links in the bottom of the description tab and for your local country. I've made a point to put them all in there so that most areas are covered. But if not, everyone kind of knows their area. There's hotlines, there's local emergency numbers, and just know that, we all try to look out for each other, but sometimes that only goes so far. So, building up that time, building up that intention for the time of natural death is really what it's all about. And stay safe, okay? And much love and blessings. And we'll all see each other again tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you again.